Good afternoon, fellow YouTube dwellers. Welcome to another exciting, after a long hiatus, if that would be exact, another long hiatus. Welcome to another episode of Director's Critiques. Today we will be discussing the wonderful and very incredibly eccentric Quentin Tarantino, the creator of such classics as Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and the most recent one, Django Unchained. Now, if there's one thing that I notice about Quentin Tarantino is that he cannot make a movie without pop culture references. He is basically the prince of pop culture of films. Every single one has an amazing soundtrack, a cultural icon, a historic event in pop culture history, or more or less a famous product that is mentioned in his films. Of course, except if you're not counting Django Unchained, but even that has pop culture references as well. Also, his films are an ode to the exploitation films of the 1970s, which of course are his main inspiration for many of his works. In fact, even the recent one, Django Unchained, is a mixture between blaxploitation and spaghetti westerns. In the record sense, I could also see that he's heavily inspired by Akira Kurosawa films, particularly Sanjuro, because both contain immense amount of action, an immense amount of gore, and an immense amount of violence. I mean, his films always have fight scenes, regardless. I mean, you cannot see one single Quentin Tarantino film without at least a bit of blood. And even the tiniest bit of blood in his films is basically almost a canvas. See, he takes blood and makes it look like paint, to be exact. In fact, you feel like you want to reach out and touch it. And paint it, and make a canvas based on Tarantino's work. To be honest, Tarantino is a lover of violence, but not in the way you would think. He tries to basically glorify on whatever time period or whatever location he's trying to assume. Now, Kill Bill, for an example, off subject, contains an immense amount of references to so many films. The Hong Kong films, Japanese anime, westerns, action, spy, you name it. Now also, Inglourious Basterds, which of course has been such a recognizable film and launched Christoph Waltz's career, is, even though it takes place in the 1940s, it is filled with a soundtrack of 70s and 80s songs. Now, even though it may not seem it might match with the time period at first, it actually sinks in so well with the style that he chose to provoke. Now, in Django Unchained, which is an even further time era, people thought, oh, the N-word, it's going to cause so much controversy, it's going to be hated by everybody. Well, that was the attitude. That was the attitude at the time. What are you going to do, deny it? In fact, Samuel L. Jackson said something like, if they're going to have a problem with this film, they're going to have to answer to me. See, that's another thing about Quentin Tarantino. Samuel L. Jackson, whatever film he has done, except for, of course, Inglourious Basterds, he has used Samuel L. Jackson. They're basically homies. They're pals. They're buddies, basically. And that's another thing about him. Just like other directors and actors, Quentin Tarantino always has usually a frequent cast member in his films. For instance, let me think. Christoph Waltz. He showed him once in the show Inglourious Basterds, and then again in Django Unchained. And this goes the same with Harvey Keitel, whom he used for two films of his, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Now, I believe that he has relaunched, and let me get this again, relaunched a lot of careers, especially that of John Travolta. You see, during the 80s, his career was very much dwindling. It was in desperate need of repair. And Quentin Tarantino helped save the day, showing him that he still had it. But that's really what he is. He's really nostalgic on the old styles. He really wants to show that exploitation isn't just something about free soul, brother, or whatever. It's a part of history. And that's what I admire out of Tarantino. He tries to show that films don't just have this value where it gets money and you get all this profit. It's about a story. It's about a good, well-thought story and a well-thought line. No wonder he won for Best Original Screenplay this year. That's Tarantino for you.